So I'm Alex. I am speaking to you from Moscow. I'm different things. I am a writer because I write books on leadership. I am a founder because I'm the founder of Virtuous Leadership System. I am a little bit of management because I created some virtuous leadership teams in the whole world. So we have in the 5 continents people working with me on the virtuous leadership topic. So I'm doing 3 things at the same time all the time, which is writing books, thinking, which is speaking all over the world through Zoom this year, and managing virtuous leadership teams in the world. I'm a Frenchman because I was born in Paris 60 years ago. I studied law. I was a lawyer for a few years in Paris, in Strasbourg, and then after in Helsinki. And in Finland, I quit my job as a lawyer and I began to do what I'm doing now. I began to write a book on virtuous leadership that was published in New York in 2007. Virtuous Leadership was my first book. It was my students who brought me to virtuous leadership. I was giving classes on history of European integration. My students were very interested in the human beings, on the founders of European Union, much more than on the European Union regulations. So I spoke a lot about the founders of European Union, and my students told me you should speak more about people and less about law. So I decided to quit with law and to spend time speaking about human beings. And that's what I do. I write on virtuous leadership, and I have a lot of good examples of people all over the world that have been practicing what I'm speaking about. So I'm not a man from the academy. I'm a philosopher, obviously, because I have philosophical education, not only law education, but our science is very practical. So I've been teaching all over the world, the top leadership of the US Army, the US Navy, the US Air Force, business people in education, a lot of people in education, principals of school directors, teachers, even students. And I've been teaching also the youth, of course. I spend my time with young people. More than 50% of my time, it is with students. And as I told you, students are those who brought me to the idea of virtuous leadership. So I have to be grateful to them, and I'm grateful to you guys. It's because of you that I'm here. And what I'm going to speak to you about today, well, I decided to speak about the very important topic, which is leaders are not made, they are trained. Leaders are not born, they are made or they're trained. It's an important topic that has to do with education. The topic this year of UNIV is related to education. So I want to speak a lot about something very practical, which is how do you build leadership on the foundation of your biological temperament. It's a very practical topic, you will like it. And at the end, I guess you will have some ideas about what does it mean to build leadership on the foundation of your biological temperament. So, Roy, do you give me the right to enter to show my slides? I need an authorization to show slides.
Okay, sure. I give you that right now. Okay. One second.
It has to be a...
Okay, there you go.
You get it? So yeah. I go. Here we are. Let's show that. Okay, you see me, guys?
Yep.
The full screen. Okay, so the idea is that you've heard about the 4 biological temperaments. I want you to understand well what this is about. When we say that leaders are not born, but they are made, we want to say that fundamentally, all of us, we have basic temperaments that are something innate. That you and I were born with our temperament, and we have to develop our character on the foundation of this temperament. So I'm I don't know how much you're familiar with the idea of temperaments, but there are fundamentally 4 temperaments. Among us here, you have people that are choleric, others that are melancholic, others that are sanguine, and some that are phlegmatic. The choleric people are those who are action-oriented. I'm speaking about biology here. I'm not speaking about spirituality. I'm not speaking about character. We're speaking about biology. So we're speaking about biological inclinations. You've done nothing to be like this. You are like that by nature. It's your first reaction. It's the way you are since the first moment of your existence. So you have people who are choleric by temperament, primary temperament. These are people that are action-oriented, people that need to do things need to do a lot of things, people that are always in action, people that are born managers. Many of you are born managers. No one is born a leader, because leadership is a moral activity that has to do with character and fundamentally with the virtues of magnanimity and humility. Leadership is fundamentally about achieving greatness by bringing out the greatness in others. So leadership has to do with magnanimity, which is greatness, and has to do with humility, which is the service. So a leader is someone who achieves greatness by bringing out the greatness in others. Magnanimity, humility. But management is something else. Management is not about achieving greatness by bringing out the greatness in others. Management is about moving things forward. It's not about moving people forward. Managers are people who are capable of moving things forward, So we say that there are people that are born managers. Yeah, many people are born managers, but no one is born a leader, because leadership has nothing to do with temperament. All the 4 temperaments, in fact, are represented in leadership. And I speak about this a little bit because people have a tendency to confuse management and leadership. I see very often mothers who tell me, look at my child, he's a real leader. I just laugh and I tell him, your child is not a leader. He's just a choleric mommy. You have to think about that. It's not the same thing. He will have to work a lot on himself to become a leader. He has nothing to do with leadership. He's just a choleric person. He's a manager. He likes to set goals. He likes to achieve those goals. He doesn't like obstacles. So he is a doer. He's a doer. He's action-oriented. But to be action-oriented doesn't mean that you're a leader. To be action-oriented means that you're a manager. You're born a manager. You have a facility for management. Okay, so that's why in management we meet a lot of people that are cholerics. So the choleric people, they are action-oriented. Biologically, I repeat, I'm not speaking about spirituality or character. Biologically, this guy or that woman has to do a lot of things. If not, she's not happy. She cannot be happy. Then you have the melancholic people. They are not interested in action. Biologically, action is not for them. They don't care for action, but they care for ideas. They love ideas. They love beauty. They love the truth. They love goodness. They love ideas. They have everything inside, and they want to enjoy those ideas. You get it? And among us, we have many melancholic people. All the people that are artists, musicians, writers, poets, philosophers, whatever you want, those guys are fundamentally melancholic. It is, they are moved by ideas, not action. And in Russia, where I live, we meet a lot of melancholic people. You meet also sanguine people. What are the sanguine people? Sanguine people are people-oriented. These are the people that are always in communication with others. These are people, good communicators, people that are born like that. They are born to smile. They are born to make people happy. They are born to be happy themselves. They are born to make jokes. They are communicators. They are on the communication side all the time. They don't live inside. They live outside. Well, for instance, the Pope Francis is very sanguine person. He's a man of communication. He's always on the communication side. John Paul II was a very melancholic person, very melancholic. Although he has also a part of cholerism, John Paul II was a very melancholic person. And then you have the phlegmatic. That's the Pope Benedict. Pope Benedict was a phlegmatic person, very scientific, very peace-oriented, very quiet. These are people that are very rational, depassionate, very rational, peace-oriented, scientific approach to reality. This is what the phlegmatics are. And among us, there are some people that are phlegmatics. So these are the 4 ways of being. These are natural ways of being, and it has to do with your biology, with your physiology. You're born like this. Okay, guys. So you see on the center of this wheel, you see about 12, not about, you see exactly 12 possibilities. Because each one of us, we have a dominant temperament and we have a secondary temperament. I am melancholic choleric. You see, so I am the MC guy. I'm 60% melancholic and 40% choleric. Is what I am. You know, top right. Each one of you is somewhere here on that wheel. And it's good to make some tests and to ask people and to try to define your temperament, because you are going to see how much that is important in order to develop well the virtues that is a real challenge for you. Because when you look at this, you understand that the virtues you are going to develop, and the virtues you need to develop to become a leader, are not the same if you're a choleric or a phlegmatic, if you're a sanguine or a melancholic. You know, it's not the same. And then for the Pope, we're speaking about UNIV, so we have to speak about popes also, because UNIV is very close to Rome. So you think about Pope Benedict, his challenge for leadership is not the same as the challenge of Pope Francis or Pope John Paul II. So those guys have very specific temperament, and their challenges in terms of leadership, in terms of character, in terms of virtues is very different. So you and I, we have to be aware of that. There is no just a science of leadership. No, you have to get to know yourself well. You have to get to know your biological structure well in order to understand what are the specific virtues you are challenged by. And what is the next step for you? That's the question. What is the next step for you? After you've made an investigation about your temperament, you need to understand what's the next step for me. Okay, Alex, I got it. I know what my temperament is. What's next? You got it, guys? So next, it's what is the virtue you have to work upon during all your life, because your temperament is not going to change. Temperament never changes. It's biology, it's genes, physiology, okay? So I want to show you an important thing. Just before entering the details of those temperaments, I want to tell you one thing very important. If you know nothing about the temperaments, what's going to happen in terms of education? Imagine you know nothing about temperaments. Imagine you're a choleric guy. And there is a guy who comes to you who is a phlegmatic. And he tells you his life, and you want to help him to grow. When you as a choleric, you see a phlegmatic, and you know nothing about temperaments, you're going to think that this guy is lazy. Because it looks like laziness, but it's not laziness. You understand? It's a way of being. Phlegmatism is a way of being. It has nothing to do with laziness. So you are going to misinterpret the guy. You're going to say, this guy is lazy, when this guy is not lazy at all. He's just phlegmatic. And phlegmatic is a very good thing. And laziness is a sin. It's a vice. So you begin very bad. If you know nothing about the temperaments, you will interpret people according to your own temperament. That's the danger, you know, the big danger. Imagine you're a phlegmatic and someone comes to you who is a choleric. What are you going to think about that guy? You're going to think about that guy that he's proud. Why? Because choleric people, they like competition, they like to be the number one, they like to show off, they like movement and action. And you don't like those things. So you're going to think this guy is proud. I don't like this. I have to help him cool down. You see what I mean? So you're going to destroy the guy. You're going to kill him. Just because you have no clue about temperaments, you will kill the guy. You got it? So be very careful with this. If you know nothing about the temperaments, you have a natural tendency to interpret morally actions and behaviors that have nothing to do with morality. Cholerism, it is not pride. Cholerism, it's a way of being that is very good, that God has wanted for certain people. Imagine you're a sanguine person and you have a students that come to you to ask for help, and this guy is a melancholic. If you know nothing about the temperaments, you're going to say, this guy is sick. This guy is egotic. Why? Because melancholic are very much self-absorbed by the thoughts themselves. They're absorbed by themselves. So you are going to think this guy is not normal. This guy is very egotic. He's always with himself. This is strange. So if you're a sanguine, you will perceive melancholy as something very strange and even as a vice. When melancholy is not a vice, melancholy is just a way of being that God has wanted for many people. You got it. So, and if you're a melancholic and you have a sanguine that comes to you, you're going to think this guy is superficial. Why? Because sanguine people live on the communication side. They're always on the outside. So for melancholic people, these people look very superficial. You misinterpret the sanguine person. Instead of understanding that this is a way of being that God has wanted for the person, you will think this is superficiality. And superficiality is a vice and a sin. So here's the key question, guys. You need to know more about the temperaments in order to understand yourself and in order to understand the others. If you don't do those things, you cannot understand those people well, and you will have a natural tendency to misinterpret those people, misinterpret their behaviors, and qualify with morality, things that have nothing to do with morality, things that are biological, physiological, innate. You got it. So that's why I'm saying it's important, the thing of the temperaments. Many people who have no clue about the temperaments very often accuse people who speak about the temperaments to put men and women in 4 boxes. But I always tell them, look, you tell me that I put people in 4 boxes, but you are putting all of humanity in 1 box, your own box. That's what happened with those people who deny the temperaments. They put the whole of humanity in 1 box. They say, no, we don't speak here about temperaments. Okay. But then they put the whole of humanity in their own box, which is the box of their own temperament. Even if they deny the signs of temperaments, they have a temperament and they interpret everything from the point of view of their own temperaments. And that's very dangerous people, okay? So we're speaking about developing character. But to develop character, we have first to understand that we have a temperament. Look at this guy. This guy is Orson Welles, you know him very well. What is he playing? He's acting. What is he acting? He's acting Othello from Shakespeare, called Othello. Othello was a very choleric person. What are the strengths of those guys? These are biological strengths: enthusiasm, energy, self-confidence. He's aware of his talents. He's a natural entrepreneur. He gets many things started. He's a natural manager. He gets many things done in a short time. He's comfortable with power and he flourishes in competition. Look at those guys, incredible. This is what we call a choleric person. That's a strength of a choleric person. That's very positive, that's very good. That's a way of being. This is action. This is a manager. But then you have some biological weaknesses in cholerism. Tendency towards pride, towards anger, towards rashness, to precipitate decisions and actions. He's slow to admit mistakes, blind activism, confrontational and domineering, insensitive. He disregards co-workers' views and feelings. He does not take the time to mold, convince, or teach the people he supervises. Look, the choleric people are doers. The difficulty, and that is a good thing, this is their strength. They do things, they get things done, as we say in English. To get things done. Beautiful words. We love to have people like this in our house, people who know how to get things done. We love them, we pay them a lot of big money, a good salary, because it's a good thing to know how to get things done. But the problem those guys have, okay, those men and women have, it is that they have a natural tendency not to care for people, because they use people as instruments for the goal. They like to speak about human resource. You know, you are a resource for them. They have invented the word human resource, because they look at you as a resource. You know, you are not an end in itself for them. Biologically speaking, they look at you as a resource. You understand? So they have a natural tendency to use you as a resource, like the capital, like the machinery. You are a resource to them in order to achieve a goal. You got it. So they take more, I mean, for them, things are more important than people. What is important is the result, the material results. That's why, that they get paid. You know, they don't get paid to empower you and to make you grow. They get paid to get results. You understand perfectly what I'm speaking about, because I'm sure you've met millions of people like this every day in your job place. So these are people without character that are just choleric. So the choleric people, what do they need? They need what we call humility. The virtue of humility to care for people more than things. People are more important than things. You need to empower people. You need to delegate power. You need to help people grow. You need to make them experience freedom, responsibility, risks, creativity. So those of you who are choleric, that's what you need to become a leader. The virtue of humility, which is the virtue that helps you understand, I need to serve people. I need to be a servant of my people. I cannot use those guys in order to achieve a goal. We need to achieve a goal together, but I need to help those people develop in the process of achieving a goal. If not, things have no sense at all, no meaning at all. You get it? So the cholerics about us, remember one thing, to grow as a leader is for you to develop the virtue of humility, and specifically the virtue of fraternal humility, which is to help people in your team, your students, whatever it is, people you serve, to help the people you serve to be real human beings and to experience freedom, responsibility, creativity, to empower them, as we say in English, to include them, to empower them, to delegate a lot of power. If you delegate power because you have no time, this is not leadership. But if you have no time to do everything yourself, that's not leadership. But if you delegate power because for you it's important to help people grow, and you know that they grow through the experience of power, this is leadership. So this is the first thing I can say about the choleric. You choleric, remember one thing. People are more important than things. People are not human resources. People are an end in itself. It's good to set goals and to achieve those goals with others, but I must make sure that those people are going to grow and not become worse in the process, or disintegrating spiritually or morally or physically in the process of achieving those goals. This is what virtuous leadership tells you, humility. Then you have what we call the melancholic people. This is Hamlet. Melancholic people are idea-oriented. They love ideas. They want to do things. They don't want to do things, sorry. What they want is to delight the ideas. What are their power? What are their strength? They are deep, reflective, contemplative, idealistic. They long for perfection. They are orderly and diligent, faithful, patient, persistent. They can handle the big crisis with grace and aplomb. They are self-motivated. He does not respond to the promise of reward nor the threat of punishment. The power of the melancholic people is that they are deep. The choleric people are intense, but the melancholic people, it's deep, contemplative, reflective. Okay, and this is necessary for creativity. These guys are very creative. They go against the status quo. They have new ideas. They can have new ideas that can change the world. So the melancholic people are very creative, and that's their strength. They are slow in their reaction to external stimuli. That's obvious, but it's because they are slow that they can be deep. What are their weaknesses? Self-absorption. They are absorbed by themselves. Self-absorption is a good thing, but if it's too much, it's too much, and you become just crazy. You cannot be absorbed by yourself all the time. It's good to be absorbed by your ideas, your feelings, yourself for a certain period of time, but it's no good to be all the time absorbed by yourself. Just become crazy. So the danger they have is this, self-absorption. They fear action in which human imperfection becomes manifest. They are pessimistic. They magnify difficulties. He doesn't like to run risk. They are extremely moody. They are very bad team players. They are very critical or judgmental of others, and they are overly sensitive and unforgiving. This is biological thing, guys. These are biological inclinations. So this is, if you are like this, don't worry, it's normal. It's because you're a melancholic. So these are your natural inclinations. You're a bad team player. That's okay. Okay, no problem with that. You have to know yourself well. The problem, another problem, the difficulty with the melancholic people is that they want perfection in everything. They see perfection everything. They need perfection everywhere. And that's why they are sad. They are a bit sad because there is no perfection on earth. So you say sometimes, well, those guys are look a bit sad. That's right. Because the melancholic people, they want perfection and they don't find it on earth. It's impossible to find it. That's why they look a little bit sad. This is what we call a nostalgia. The nostalgia of a better world where things are okay, where everything is perfect. And there is no such a world. That's why those people that are melancholic are not satisfied. They are unhappy. What's the problem with those people? What is the challenge for them? The challenge is going to be audacity. Why? Because melancholic people, they're on the inside. They have difficulty to go towards the others. They have difficulties to implement the dream. They have a lot of dreams, beautiful dreams, powerful dreams. But the difficulty that they have is how to implement that, because they don't like action. Why don't they like action? Because action means human limitations. The idea, the dream is beautiful inside yourself. And as soon as you implement it, it's not so beautiful, because human beings are sinners, because human beings are limited. So that's why the melancholic people don't like to implement the dream. You understand? They have a lot of difficulty to transform a dream into a mission. Very hard for them. They love the dream, but to implement it into a mission is very hard. So melancholic people among us, remember one thing: audacity. Audacity. Dare. Don't worry. Don't worry if it doesn't work. What is important for you is to get outside yourself. Share with others what you have inside. Don't keep it for yourself. Try to transform your ideas into reality, into missions. Not only keep it for yourself, for your personal contemplation. Get outside yourself. Implement the dream. You got it? So this is what we call audacity. You need audacity. This is the challenge for the melancholic people. Martin Luther King was a melancholic person. 99%, he has crisis of melancholy. He was a doer, but he was a doer not because he was a choleric, not at all. He was a doer because he became a doer by developing the virtue of audacity. But he was not made for being a doer. He became a doer. He became a real leader because he did things. Moses, the great Moses of the Old Testament, was a melancholic. He didn't like power. He was very far from cholerism. This guy has a lot of doubts about everything. But he was a real doer. He's a model of leadership in the whole world because he developed audacity. You got it? So many people are choleric by nature, like St. Paul. St. Paul was a choleric nature. He didn't need audacity. He was so choleric that he didn't need it. He needed something else. He needed probably humility to serve people better. But many leaders have been melancholic. You know, Lincoln was melancholic. Many great leaders have been melancholic. People that are deep inside it, but they have difficulty to transform what is inside into something active. Now let's speak about the third one, which is the sanguine. The sanguine, as you see in this picture, the sanguine people are on the communication side. You meet a lot of sanguine people in Africa, in Italy, in South America. Melancholic people, you'll meet a lot of them in Russia, in Portugal. Choleric people, you meet a lot also in Spain. In Spain, many choleric people. In Canada and in America, North America, it's very hard to say because you have a real melting pot. So the biology is very mixed. It's like France. The biology is very mixed. So you have people from the north, from the south. It's very hard to say what kind of biology you have there. You have certain countries where we can say there is a dominant type, biologically speaking, but in many countries there is no, you cannot say, it's impossible. Sanguine people, they are oriented towards, not towards action, but towards communication. Communication people. Like Pope Francis, enjoys people and wants to make them happy. He's friendly, outgoing, communicative. He is warm-hearted, compassionate, generous, creative, enterprising, and adventurous some. He is attuned to his five senses, which gives him a good eye for detail. The strength of the sanguine people is communication. It's natural love for human beings, natural love for human beings. You like to love people and you like people to love you. So you're friendly in a natural way. It's very easy for you to interact in a very spontaneous way with human beings. You don't need to think twice how to interact. You interact very naturally, spontaneously with people. This is the power of the sanguine people. They are very good at selling. The selling departments, you have a lot of people like this, you know. So this is a strength. This is a powerful strength, but they have some difficulties. They have some challenges. He's prone to superficiality and inconstancy. Fun tends to be his prime motivator. Fun. People that are sanguine needs fun all the time. If there is no fun, they get bored and they don't do the job. Easily distracted by something new. Eager to please and wants everyone to love him. He is tempted to forsake what he knows is right in order to fit in with the crowd. He is attuned to his five senses. He is readily attracted to tangible pleasures and external attractions. So these are what is the main weakness of the sanguine people? Instability. Instability. The sanguine people live in the present. The choleric people live in the future. They set goals and they want to achieve those goals. They look towards the future. The melancholic people, they look toward the past. Nostalgia, the past. They build their life on the past. Those people, the sanguine people, they build everything on the present. There is no future, there is no past. It's now. You get it? It's now. It's what the French people call la joie de vivre. La joie de vivre, it's for now, it's not for tomorrow. The sanguine people live in the present, in joie de vivre. So it is now, now, and now. So the problem that they have is that they don't understand what is time. There is no time for them. So they begin a lot of projects and they have a difficulty to finish the job. Because they begin, why do they begin projects? Because to begin is fun. It's a lot of fun when you begin something. What is new is fun. But as soon as routine comes in, they collapse. Collapse. They cannot handle routine. Sanguine people don't understand what is routine. What they understand is adventure, fun. You see what I mean? So this is their life. Their life is about fun. It's a great motivator for them. That's why we love those people, because they're very funny, because they bring a lot of joy to our life. If there wouldn't be sanguine people around, we would become crazy very soon, all of us. So we need those people. But these people have a difficulty. They have a challenge. It is what we call the virtue of endurance. Endurance. All the virtues that are related to time are challenges for the sanguines. The virtues related to times are endurance, patience, stability, faithfulness. All those virtues are difficult for them to practice because, I repeat, they live in the present. They have no vision of the future. They have no biological vision of the future. So they need to acquire this vision of the future through the virtue of endurance. They need to have it at the spiritual level, because the biological level, they have no vision, no clue about what is time. You got it? So if you want to understand what's time, you need to develop a virtue that is called endurance. And if you develop it, then you get a vision of time, and then you will finish the job before beginning something new. So those of you who are sanguines, remember one thing: finish the job before beginning something new. Don't quit the job when you get bored. Do things till the end. This is hard for you, but this is the way for you to become a virtuous leader. This is the way towards leadership for you. Okay? And then we have the last guy. I'll just take an example of a very sanguine person that was a real leader, man, Thomas More. Thomas More was very sanguine. He was a very communicative person. He has millions of friends. He was an incredible friend for his friends. Everybody who has known him said, this guy is incredible. He is on the communication side all the time. He delights in humanity. He loves friends. But this guy was the only enduring person in England in the time of Henry VIII. He's the only one who said no to the Tsar, to the king, excuse me, to the king, and who was beheaded. He was a funny guy. He was, before he died, he even made a joke. He said to the guy who was killing him, beheading him, do the job well. And he gave him a $1, do the job the best as you can. I've always done my job well. Cut my head in one cut, not in 5. This is a joke that sanguine people can do. Melancholic people don't do jokes like this before they die. so this is Thomas was a sanguine person. He was a sanguine, but he was the only enduring person in the Kingdom of England in the time of Henry VIII. So learn from him. Another example was, of course, the great king of the Jewish king David. David was very sanguine. He's incredible. He's a poet. He's an incredible guy, full of sanguinism. And at the same time, he was also very endurant. So remember one thing, you can be sanguine and become an incredible leader. That's possible. And then we finish with the phlegmatic person. The phlegmatic is peace-oriented. Peace-oriented. Many engineers are like this. Strength. Exhibit a scientific approach to reality. He's an excellent listener. He has great empathy for others, a strong sense of obligation and cooperation. He possesses a hidden will of iron. He's constant, loyal, and persevering. Not easily insulted or provoked to anger. He's calm under pressure. Scientific approach to reality. This is what those guys are. Very scientific, very engineer, dispassionate. We love those guys because when we have problems, we go to see them, we will go to speak with them, and they tell us, don't worry, it's not a problem. This is not a scientifically based problem. so you keep quiet, you're happy. Yeah, you need to have a friend like that. It's very important. The problem, the challenge that those people have is he is content with the status quo, security and routine. He's indecisive and terrified of making mistakes. He seeks to avoid conflict at all costs. He's prone to passivity. So the difficulty that those people have is functionarism. Functionarism. They love status quo. They love status quo, and it's very hard for them to get out of the status quo. It's very hard for them to move forward and to overcome the status quo. So they have a tendency to go to functionarism, and this is bad for them. So what these people need, it is the virtue of magnanimity. Magnanimity, it is the specific virtue of leaders. It is the virtue that makes you a great person. It is the tendency towards great things. It is the striving of the soul, of the mind, of the will towards great things. So the phlegmatic people have a natural difficulty to overcome this weakness, and they have to practice the virtue of magnanimity. When the melancholic people have a problem with transforming the dream into action. The problem with the phlegmatics is that they have a problem to dream. They don't dream enough. They need to dream more in order to overcome, in order to dream. And magnanimity begins with the dream. So these people need a dream. Not only to transform the dream into action, they need the dream itself. So that you have to help them dream about themselves. The magnanimous people need to understand, okay, to dream is good, it's natural, it's scientific. A human being needs to dream. If not, he's not a real human being. So you have to use with them various scientific words, scientific notions. If not, they will think you're just crazy. You know, for them, dreams sounds crazy, but you have to explain the dream with scientific words so that they understand what you're speaking about and they take you seriously. So here you are, guys. I finished with that. Here it is. You see the 4 temperaments have 4 inclinations. And according to these 4 inclinations, you have 4 virtues you have to develop. Each one of you has to develop a specific virtue in order to become a real leader. This is why we say leaders are not born, they are made. You are made because you are developing a specific virtue that makes you a real leader. Okay, guys, I spoke quite a lot. Roy, I don't have much time for questions, but we have 10 minutes for questions if people want to ask something.
Okay, so let's do this. If anybody has a question, unmute and ask the question. That's a good plan. Maybe Alex, if you could remove your full screen, so this way we can see you better. Okay, so do we have any question?
So I have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
So would the challenges for each temperament be different if you, for example, had two? For example, if you were a mix of phlegmatic and sanguine?
Yeah, very good question. Look, first, people that are choleric, that are also melancholic, it's very good because then autism melancholy will help them develop the things inside, because a choleric is direct towards action. So what happens is that the second temperament that you have normally will help you correct some, I would say, weaknesses of the basic temperament. So it's very good that you have two temperaments. If you have only one temperament, or if you're 99% one temperament, life is going to be heavy for you, very heavy. You understand? Very heavy. But if you have two temperaments, and in fact, the word temperaments come from Latin temperamentum, which means mixtures. So if you have really temperaments, two of them, you can be sure that life is not going to be so heavy for you, because in your secondary temperament, you will find certain things that will help you develop, overcome the problems, the challenge of the first temperament. For instance, a choleric that is a sanguine, he has in sanguinism, he has some elements to help him serve the others better. If he's 100% a choleric, it's going to be very hard for him to serve people. But if he's a choleric sanguine, it's not going to be so hard, because I repeat, sanguinism gives him a lot of energy to serve people, because he wants first of all to be with people. He wants to help them grow.
Thank you.
So this means that you have to know also your secondary temperament in order to understand, well, how can I use my secondary temperament to develop that virtue that is a challenge for me, the virtue Alex is speaking about.
Okay.
Alex, I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It was really good. My question is, what's the correlation between parents and the temperaments? Basically, like if you have a parent that's more melancholic or choleric.
I got it. Normally, it's because it's biological, so it has to do with parents or grandparents or whatever it is. It comes through the gene. But sometimes it's happened that the parents have nothing to do with what you are, but it's a grandmother or grandfather was like that. So there is a connection, of course. It's a biological connection. It's very strange to find someone that is a melancholic if during 3 generations there was no melancholic at all.
So it's related with the parents or
grandparents. Yeah, it's related to the parents and the grandparents.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Can one's temperament develop over time?
No, temperament cannot. What's going to develop is character. So if you're, for instance, let's say a choleric, and you develop your capacity for communication with others, that is the virtue of justice, the virtue of communication, communion, then you will have the impression that you have become a sanguine. But you are not becoming a sanguine. You have just developed the virtue of justice. It's not the same thing. In the virtue of justice, you have all the virtues rooted in interpersonal relations, friendship, love, mercy. So all those things are given to you, are not given to you. You've been developing them through character. So you don't change your temperament. You just acquire virtues that help you overcome the difficulty of your temperament. You get it. So your temperament is not going to change. What's going to change is your character. And it's important for you to make the distinction.
Thank you.
I have a question too. You mentioned that there is usually people had like 2 temperaments, but there were also some with just 1. Is it possible to have a mix of 3 temperaments or even all 4?
No, you cannot, because they are opposite. You cannot if you're cholerism, you cannot have phlegmatism. You cannot be quick and slow at the same time. If you're a sanguine, you cannot be a melancholic. It's exactly the opposite thing. The reaction to external stimuli is exactly the opposite. So that's why we say you can have only 2 temperaments. You cannot have 3.
Okay, thank you.
I've got one question. When you search for a partner of life, would it be better to find someone with a temperament that is closer to ours, or that is one that is on the opposite side of the circle?
No, it's better the opposite, because the opposite means complementarity. It's like a man looking for a man or a man looking for a woman. So you better look for someone that's not like you, because if not, it's going to be very poor life. Poor life. You know, the other one is the opposite. So it's a challenge. It's very challenging for you, and it's good for you because you learn. If you're a melancholic and you have your wife is a sanguine, you will learn communication. You don't know what's communication. You will learn. You understand? And your wife, as a sanguine, will learn interiority, contemplation, because she's not used to that. She doesn't know what that is about, but she needs it. You get it? So complementarity is extraordinary. It's very good.
Thank you.
So Alex, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, one last question.
One last question.
Okay, so hi, thanks for the presentation. As far as I can understand, the temperaments, melancholic and sanguine, they are kind of the opposite. But can someone have both temperaments, melancholic and sanguine, at the same time?
No, impossible. If you're a melancholic, you can be only a choleric or a phlegmatic, but not a sanguine. It's absolutely excluded. What you can do is develop the virtues of communication that will give you the impression that you're also sanguine, but you're not. You're not. You've been developing the virtue of communication at the level of spirituality, the spirit, the virtue, not at the level of biology. You cannot change your genes. Okay, Felipe, I have to go, guys. So I wish you a happy Christmas. We're so happy. Now in Moscow, it's time for Christmas, so I have to go. So
Christmas or Easter?
Easter, so sorry. Easter. I'm so happy to be with you guys. Very happy, very happy. If you have other questions, don't hesitate to write to me. I'll be happy to answer by writing. Okay? Thank you very much for the invitation, Roy.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.